And listening into that was Paul Stevens, who's with Rangitoto College, a teacher there, and with the PPTA joining us this morning. Good morning.
Morena.
You guys haven't, the PPTA hasn't made a counter offer. So Ministry makes an offer, PPTA doesn't counter offer, just goes straight to strike. Why?
Well, we do have an offer. Well, we do have a claim, rather. So we've gone into these negotiations, we believe, in really good faith. We've been doing everything we can at the negotiating table and beyond to explain the issues in the sector that need to be solved. And yes, we've only been in negotiations for a few weeks, but they are, quite frankly, as far as we're concerned, it's hard to see that it's good faith from their side. But because to offer 1% at in a situation that we're facing.
Were you offended by that?
Patently, I think it's fair to be, right? If we're talking about the cost of living, and these have been the issues that we've been talking about for a long time, right? This dates back to earlier interviews last time we were negotiating, for example.
So why not counter offer when they come with 1%? Why not say, or like, I know that you want 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4. Why not go in with that?
I mean, look, let's be realistic. If they were able to at least come to us with something that matched inflation, that would be something that we could take to our membership, and we would be able to have the kind of conversation that we're wanting to have. But they're just not showing that they're willing to. There's a level of disingenuous nature to the way that Judith Collins is speaking, and I think there's a contradiction, to be honest.
What is that? She
talks about how if inflation is at a certain rate, then wages will need to match that, and yet they're not willing to do that. She talks about how our wages have gone up significantly over the last few years, but isn't acknowledging that the only reason why we've had some of those bumps is because of the rate of inflation. We're not able to staff our schools. We do have teachers leaving all the time over to Australia, where they are earning considerably more.
New South Wales, Minister reckons that you're about on par.
And that's disingenuous, because there are plenty of other places that we know teachers are going where they are earning as much as $133,000 on the basic scale.
So Brian Roche says the average is $100,000 for a secondary teacher. That's right. And he also says that the increase from 93,000 over the last 3 years has been significant. He also says that you get the progression. So the longer you're in a job, you get progression pay, which is 4.5% to 7.5% annually, and then you'll get this on top of it. For the parents out there who are struggling, who maybe don't even have a job, who are now having to keep their kids home from school because of your decision to strike, how do you justify that?
I think there are 2 points here. One is that to claim that the basic scale, which is what you work up at the beginning of your career, so the first 7 or 8 years of your career, and that's based on appraisal, that's because you are increasingly growing in efficacy within your work, you're going up that basic scale that a lot of professions have.
It doesn't mean you're better, it just means you're there, right?
No, you're being appraised, you're meeting the requirements of your job. Your principal doesn't have to sign off on that. That's the basic scale, that's the beginning of your career. We're losing people like me who have been teaching for 10 or 11 years, and just like everyone else, our parents understand this. We've got the same cost of living pressures that they're facing, and at the same time we're seeing it's a pay cut in real terms that we're being offered, which is just an insult. Our parents value us. The parents that we talk to know why we're striking, and at the end of the day, we can make this about pay and talk about pay all we like, but any teacher
But that's what you guys have made this about.
But if we can't staff...
Otherwise, why would you be asking for 4% per year with an extra 4% in the first year?
The extra 4% was partly because of was voted on after the pay equity legislation was changed to make it impossible for us to continue with our claim. So that was part of the reason why we added on the extra 4%. But to be honest, even 4% a year wouldn't bring us back, even then, to where we were when we were at a position, effectively back in the 90s, when we could staff our schools.
All right.
When there were plenty of teachers coming into the profession. And that's the real issue here. Look, honestly, Ryan, I've always seen myself as a career teacher, and I've been teaching for 11 years. Quite frankly, the last few weeks have been the first time that I've genuinely thought about leaving teaching. And a lot of my colleagues are saying the same thing. And yes, pay is a factor, but it's more the fact that our job is becoming more complex. I mean, the NCA changes. That is a once-in-a-generation shift, radical shift happening across our curriculum and our assessment system at a time when we're being offered less of a pay increase in a generation.
I get the pay thing, but the NCA stuff, you must concede the system's not working for parents, employers and students. So as a teacher, if you really cared about students, wouldn't you want a system that actually prepares them for the world?
Absolutely. And there are certainly arguments in both
So
directions
embrace
about how
it.
we should be changing.
Is it because it's national that's doing this? If it was Labor making the change, you'd be okay.
It's not about whether we embrace it or not, Ryan. It's whether or not we can staff it. You can't ask for this kind of change if you're not going to have the teachers there to teach it. And with as many of 30% of schools who have got teachers who are not specialists in their subjects, and this is growing, principals are crying out to the media and to us and saying we aren't able to get the right applicants into jobs.
So if you don't get some movement from the ministry, then more strikes?
So at the moment, if they are able to come back to the negotiating table with what we would consider to be a reasonable offer, then we're very happy to.
Which is what?
Well, at the moment we're asking for 4%.
Is there a middle ground? 2, 3?
I'm not at the negotiating table,
All
and
right.
that's ultimately up to members, Ryan. I think that is certainly the way that it works. We do have a series of rostering home strikes in week 10 of this term, which are scheduled. But again, those don't have to go ahead if they are able to come back to the table. But look, we're looking at what's happening with the nurses as well, and these are issues across the public sector.
We will wait and see on that. There's another meeting Friday with the ministry, I understand. Paul will leave it there. Thank you very much for coming in this
Thanks so
morning.
much.